I think that defense was so good last year. Now they lose, and I want to go to the Panthers now because they get Ejiro Evero as the coach. David Tepper is another. So much like the Waltons in Denver, David Tepper, the owner for the Carolina Panthers, he spent a lot of money on some coaches this year, right? You go with, Frank Reich was one of those immediate, gets fired, gets a job right away. Like, what was the problem, him or was the problem Indianapolis? They go Ejiro Evero, one of the like really good up and coming, defensive coordinators in football. Like, if Denver would have scored 20 points a game last year, they probably would have won 11 games, but no one noticed because their offense is so poor. Josh McCown becomes the OC quarterback coach. They're building something cool in Carolina. Bryce Young, of course, is their first round pick, but they do a good job of, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, Hayden Hurst, kind of round them out. Offensive line's okay, bad division. I can see Frank Reich having success right away here.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. I think, Bryce Young is a different type of quarterback. We haven't seen him necessarily work with someone who has his skill set and his build before. He was so used to working with these taller, more pocket passing quarterbacks in Indianapolis. But I think a lot of people who like really study the game of football and are known for grinding a lot of film, like they have a very high respect for Frank Reich. Like they think he does a good job. And you look at the personnel that he had in Indianapolis, it was fine. Jonathan Taylor had a great year and Michael Pittman is a good receiver, but they never really had that like all-star receiving cast. And he worked with a lot of journeyman quarterbacks as well, Jacoby Brissett and Carson Wentz and Phillip Rivers at the very end of his career. And so you can kind of see that there is probably going to be a bump in the production that you would expect if Bryce Young were to get like an average head coach. You would have to think that on the offensive side of the ball, Frank Reich is probably better and could take advantage of that weak division like you mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. And I know one big, we talk about this in our field, but like Frank Reich was one of the better decision makers when you look at fourth down, timeout avoidance, delay of game avoidance, all that stuff. He was one of the league's best. And then once things got a little touchy in Indianapolis, he started to wane. Like you look at, you look at sumersports.com, you can go ahead and search that. But like, he's a great example of somebody who I think is very open to some of the stuff that we would like a coach to do. In fact, one of my best friends in the league, John Park, worked for him for a while. George Lee actually went from Indianapolis to Carolina to be his coordinator, a longtime person in the league. Like they did a lot of very awake stuff about, in-game stuff. And then as things kind of got touchy there, you started, and then even once they let him go, Jeff Saturday is like, oh, I'm not going to, or maybe it was Irsay who said like, oh, he's not going to be afraid. He's not going to use the analytics. It's like, desperation makes bad decisions. I hope that now he's in Carolina. He's in a stable situation. There are realistic expectations for them. There are realistic expectations of the quarterback, which they were never able to get right. And in fact, I don't blame him much at all when you're preparing to have one of the best quarterbacks in the league be your quarterback forever and ever, amen, and then he retires, it causes some issues. I think that Frank Reich will have a good career in Carolina. And it was really funny because Frank Reich was the first ever quarterback to start a game for the Panthers. People don't remember that. But in 1995, he started for them for their first few games before giving way to Kerry Collins, their first ever draft pick.